Today on Locked On Red Wings, Cam Talbot plays unreal, blanking the Bolts as Detroit wins their second straight game.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA D1 men's hockey. And Scotty, great game on Saturday night. Red Wings 2-0 shutout victors. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, there's going to be one name that is going to carry probably the bulk of segment one here, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, got to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is on the way, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Scotty, the Detroit Red Wings 2-0 victors. I mean, just first thought, like, how did you feel that game went in your mind?
I was fired up, man. Genuinely, that was my first thought after the final buzzer. Was like that was a game that gets the blood pumping a little bit. And when you're watching, after the game ends, and I like the alliteration in the cold open, by the way, blank the Bolts. That's, I always appreciate some good alliteration there. But seriously though, like that was my first thought, was just like, that is a huge win. This is a team that smacked you silly last time you played them, and you go out there, and obviously a lot of that we'll talk plenty about Cam Talbot and how incredible he was, but I think those were my two first thoughts, was like, Cam Talbot is unbelievable, and that this was a really, really awesome win, because it wasn't like we've seen games in the past where a goalie for the Wings goes off, right? Like Alex Lyon down the stretch last year, or even, in the first half of this year. Cam Talbot's done it this year already too, where it's like, okay, the other team is putting up, 45 plus shots and we're putting up 12. And it's like, okay, well, like the goalie just was on his head, and that's why the Wings won. And that's wasn't quite the same game flow. Like, obviously Talbot is the difference maker. I don't think that's like a secret. But this was a game where I think the Wings still looked really solid all around, and put up a really competitive performance. So I was just really fired up, and I think my initial thought was that, plus thank you, Cam Talbot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said it too, Scotty, because I was thinking the same thing when it came to this game. We talked about it on Friday, right, where I said if they come out and play like they did against Montreal, they're not going to put up 45 shots on them, but they're going to go toe-to-toe and have a chance to win that hockey game. And they came out and they played like they did against Montreal. They came out with fast feet. They came out shooting the puck a lot, getting towards the middle. Still gave up plenty as well in opportunities, but Cam Talbot's, was up to the task. So that's back-to-back games where they came out strong and they played well through all 60 minutes. There was a little bit of a seesaw battle for sure. It was a track meet, honestly. Yeah. It was a game where I expected this game to end up with a ton of goals on either side, but Andrei Vasilevskiy wasn't giving up anything easy either. So I think the expected goals at the end of this game say it should have been like a 4-3 victory for the Detroit Red Wings. But the Red Wings had the edge in all of those statistical categories. So not only did they actually outshoot them 31-28 and survive a little bit of a push by the Lightning in the third period, mostly their biggest push was early in the second. I thought the Lightning came out really strong early in the second. But, they had 51% of the shot attempt share. They had 53% of the shot share at 5-on-5. Again, this is all at 5-on-5. And the expected goals, they had 49% of the expected goal share. So they were either almost even or had the edge in every statistical category, which backs up everything that we saw on the ice. It was a track meet on either side, both teams exchanging huge chances. But it was, in the end, as you put it, it's no secret, the difference maker in this hockey game is Cam Talbot, right? And I think that's it. I mean, he had a goal saved above expected of 4.34.
What a performance, dude.
Right.
Like, that's the best goalie performance of the year for the Wings.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
I mean, nothing jumps out the page at me, at least.
This is better than his 42 save performance.
Right.
That was the shutout earlier in the season.
Completely agree, man. That sequence really late in the third, and like there was crazy saves all night. Again, this was not just like he stood on his head for a few minutes at the end of the game, but like that sequence in the third period where Tampa Bay had like 3 high danger opportunities in the last 3-4 minutes of the game, including that I don't want to say should have scored, but like they were in prime position to score right before the empty netter. Like that was they had a beautiful setup, and Talbot goes post to post, really without looking at like where the puck even is, sticks the leg out and gets a pad save. I mean, he was remarkable, man. And yeah, I mean, we can do 2 difference makers just for the sake of like having one, but there was one in this game. Yeah. Like for very rarely do we do this, but like there was one pretty clear cut. No one else was on his level.
It's him up here, and then the next difference maker is all the way down here.
Right.
And don't forget too that incredible save he made in the first period on the 2-on-1 against Kucherov. And for a while I was like, I don't know if he got a piece of that. And I watched a slow mo replay. Like, yeah, he did catch a piece of it with his glove to deflect it up, and he got a little lucky at times too. Like Kucherov in all alone sends it off the post late. I think it was Cirelli sends it through the crease rather than scoring when they had the goalie pulled. But like sometimes that's like you make your own luck, right? It's better to be lucky than good in some instances, and he was both. He was both lucky and good. And I mean, it says a lot that he only faced 28 shots, and this is why I say this 28 shot shutout is more important or better than the 42 save shutout he had against the Predators earlier in the season, is because to face 28 shots, but to have your goals saved above expected be 4.34 speaks to how high danger a lot of those opportunities were that he was able to make the saves on. Because again, this was a track meet where both teams were exchanging high danger opportunities. I mean, I think I wrote it down in the first period. Raymond, Seider, and Compher, all 3 of them had huge opportunities, either in all alone or on a one-on-one with the goaltender or a defenseman. And then Kucherov had 2 opportunities, and Cirelli had an opportunity as well late in the first period, and neither team could finish. Both goalies were just in top form. And I don't want to take anything away from Andrei Vasilevskiy either, because he was fantastic in this game too.
Yeah, and that's to be expected for sure. Right. And not that Talbot hasn't had a really solid year and been above expectations for the Wings too, but yeah, like Vasilevskiy is one of the premier goalies in the sport and played like it.
Yeah, I mean, and for 37-year-old Cam Talbot to out goalie Andrei Vasilevskiy, that's nothing.
That's baller,
short
man.
of amazing,
yeah,
right?
That's sick.
That was his first career shutout against the Lightning. It was his second shutout of the season, and it was the first time the Lightning have been shut out in over a calendar year. So kind of a big deal. It was a great feeling.
Cam Talbot, I don't know if you're aware, but he's kind of a big deal. So,
I do have a backup difference maker, a second difference maker, because we always have 2, right? One for you, one for me, although we kind of shared this one, right? Because how could we not?
I'm going to go with Cam Talbot's pad and his glove.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I can't believe you would disparage his blocker, but we're okay.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I went with penalty kill. It's 2 for 2 in this hockey game, and the Tampa Bay Lightning have a top 10 power play in the league. So the penalty kill, and they're very good penalty kills. They weren't lucky; they were good.
Yeah.
And where they were clogging up passing lanes, keeping the opportunities to the outside and along the blue line. They did a really good job all game long. And Scott, I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't know if you saw my tweet about it last night. They're 6 for their last 6. Oh, okay, that's fair. They're 6 for the last 6 in the last 3 games. So the penalty kills starting to show signs of life,
which is great and is something that you want to talk about a season difference maker the rest of the way. I think that's pretty. For anyone who has followed the Wings so far this year is aware of how brutal it was in you can really just say up until the new year. And for it to be turning around is obviously a big help. It's so weird because I feel like it has done really well against really good power plays and then been soft against like power plays that haven't graded out well this year. So Yeah, a smaller sample size right now, but we'll take 6 of the last 6, and we'll certainly take the penalty kill just taking strides in the right direction, because that was single-handedly losing you games at one point
Right.
this season. It was so bad. So if you can, just be, we said it, I know, a couple of weeks ago, but if you can just be a mediocre penalty kill, then this team will get marginally better because of it.
Right. It's at 69.4% on the season now after this like
Jeez.
6-for-6 stretch. Since McClellan's taken over, it sits 26th in the league. So since December 25th, they are the 26th best penalty kill, I guess is the way to put it. Sitting at 71% in his tenure. So it's not like a huge improvement, but it needs to get better, and it needs to be better for them to have a chance, as you put. So we're going to do a quick break, Scotty. When we return, we'll talk about notable performers. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, the FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, I got a handful of difference makers written down. Who do you got?
Notable performers.
Okay, all right.
Gosh.
Said with such attitude.
I have a few too. I think one of the biggest non-goal scoring notable performance I had was JT Compher, and I think that we talked about the lack of center production, and the lack of production really just up the middle as a whole for this team, outside of obviously Larkin. And I thought he was kind of everywhere. And I thought he played a really solid game. Obviously, he gets an assist in this one, but I thought played really sound defense. And I think the biggest stat for me was I have written down 5, but that might be off by 1 or 2. He was really laying out the body and was blocking shots left and right. And I think for a forward to be that aggressive in that area is nice to see. So yeah, he was one that, even though only had 1 point on the night and didn't score a goal, I was really impressed with how he looked in this one.
Yeah, it was a good defensive performance from JT Compher, and you're right. Officially, he was given 5 blocked shots in this hockey game, only registering 1 shot himself, but great defensive performance from him. They asked a lot of him in this hockey game. He played 24 shifts, which I believe is second only to Dylan Larkin in this hockey game. So he got a lot of ice time and a lot of opportunity to play, and especially, I mean, I'm not surprised down the stretch, right, in the last 20 minutes when you're only up 1-0 and Tampa Bay's trying to make a push, that you put him out there in a situation to make something happen defensively speaking. Also, he didn't get crushed in the faceoff circle today. He went 6 for 6, which is nice. He was on a stretch there where he just could not win a faceoff. So solid performance from him in the defensive zone. I got to go with Marco Kasper. I think that's an easy slam dunk player to go with, but he had another great game and obviously scored the eventual game winner. He's making a living out front, right? I mean, a couple of those tips that he scored on were like just kind of coincidentally off his body when he was going for a screen, and that's good. We need somebody to go to the net and create a screen. Like those are just as much luck as they are skill, in my opinion, because you're making your luck happen by going to the net. But this goal was all skill. That was a beautiful tip off the post and in off of JT Compher's shot. It was more of a pass, actually. But Scotty, I don't know if you're paying attention, but he has 15 points on the season. 8 of those points comes in the last 9 games. So since his promotion to the top line, he's starting to heat up and find a groove living in the top 6. And, part of that, of course, comes with playing with better talent. But also, it's not like he's not, carrying his own weight on that top line, right? Joe Veleno didn't get a visible bump by playing with the top line, but Marco Kasper did, and that's because Marco Kasper is capable of playing that pace of game. He had a 68% Corsi 4% shot attempt share, and he has 63% expected goals percentage as well. So not just is the eye test, but also the analytics backing up that he had a great game.
Yeah, and I think this is important for his development too, just getting him to play with different people in different situations, play on the outside and not necessarily be forced up the middle every single night. I think there's a lot of flexibility that can come with that, which I think is just good overall for his development and for the Wings making the lineup card every night. But I also think just, if that helps get him going, and I mean, he's been trending in the right direction as far as point production for a few weeks now, but if he can continue that and even get more of a bump, maybe playing with different people and playing with, the talent that the Wings have at the top, that is only a good thing. And if he can take that and then move, back down, maybe up the middle and be a solidified middle six center with that and kind of carry that momentum into that, then I think that would obviously go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Scotty, who else you got?
I'm gonna go with Cam Talbot. I mean, I also have Christian Fischer written down just because he's a dog, and I absolutely love watching him play hockey. And I don't even think he got 10 minutes in this game, but had one of the assists on this one as well, and just continues to use the body. And I think that when we talk about these all-around performances, when we don't have an all-around performance, when the Wings don't have a game where everyone in the lineup card top to bottom is doing well, we really highlight it. And so I think it's fair to, when the Wings do have a game, that it really did feel like every line was kind of firing on all cylinders and at least playing competitive, up to the level of their opponent hockey across the board. I think people like Fischer deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, and I mean, to back up your sentiment there, he did lead the team in expected goals for percentage at 77%. That is a expected goals for of 0.96 and expected goals against when he was on the ice at 0.28. That, of course, sample size comes into play. He had the second fewest time on the ice in this hockey game at 5-on-5 at 9 minutes and 12 seconds. But, I mean, that just goes to show and kind of rolls into that fourth line as a whole having a very visible bump in energy ever since Elmer Soderblom got recalled. I mean, it's not just him, Michael Rasmussen too. They're all playing so well and clicking on a very good level that when they go out there, that suddenly that line, which, I mean, the fourth line was just kind of a time filler in weeks past before McLellan got here, before Soderblom got here. Now all of a sudden I'm looking forward to when the fourth line gets out there because they're playing with gusto. They're forechecking. They're forcing turnovers. Rasmussen forced a turnover that almost scored a goal. They put him out there with the empty net, and he scored the empty netter. And if we have time, we'll talk about that play too. That was dirty as hell. But that fourth line is starting to generate. And Soderblom again, like he knocked that puck out of midair right in front of Vasilevskiy and just happened to hit the post. Like he's so due. That fourth line is generating with each other so well. I wouldn't mind seeing Soderblom get an opportunity higher in the lineup after just 3 games to how well he's playing, just to see if is this just because he's playing against bottom 6 competition, or is he just legitimately that good? Because it's hard not to notice when he touches the puck because he's such a behemoth. But, I mean, I take notice every time he touches the puck because it feels like he's doing something. And that whole fourth line, Christian Fischer, Michael Rasmussen, they're included. This group of fourth line players, it feels like they have kind of a swagger about them,
which is great. We love a fourth line with swagger here in the city of Detroit. That goes a long way, I think.
Absolutely. So, too, I want to talk about the Kucherov thing, right? Because there's a couple of dirty plays in this hockey game. That was the one that a lot of people are thinking about, but we're recording this on Sunday, and we've heard nothing about there being like a hearing or anything, and it was a trip, and where Rasmussen's reportedly going to be okay, and they don't typically review trips, but it was such a blatantly dirty play. Like when you watch the replay, Kucherov gave up on the puck and just hacked at his skate as he was cutting in, took his feet out from under him, and he needed help going down the tunnel because he went barreling into the net, and he could have seriously hurt him. If he had hit the post, could have seriously hurt Michael Rasmussen. And Nikita Kucherov is one of those stars that gets away with being a dirty player because he scores a lot of points. Like, for some reason, Nikita Kucherov does not get punished like other players would just because of his star power, even though he's a dirty player. I don't get it. And then, of course, there's the play against JT Compher, which is getting reviewed by the NHL player safety, the one from Lily Ergens, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So just unnecessary dirty plays. The one on Compher too frustrates me because Compher wasn't even in the play. He was crossing the blue line, didn't have the puck, was nowhere near the puck, and he just gets popped in the head. So they gave it a 2-minute minor on the ice, but I was like, I don't understand how that's head contact. It's getting reviewed by player safety, but it's a 2-minute minor. Like, the inconsistencies drive me nuts.
Yeah, and that's been, our and I think most fan base's issue with the player safety department is a lack of consistency whatsoever. Yeah, the Kucherov play is a joke. I mean,
Right.
like, genuinely, like
He's a sore
that's
loser.
absolute Bush League. Like, just, yeah, I think loser really is like that's something that shouldn't be in the game of hockey. And yeah, I think I think assuming everyone that played in this game for both teams plays the next time that the Wings and Lightning play, that'll probably be a pretty interesting hockey game.
Like, I'm less upset over the Lilberg hit on Compher to his head than I am the Kucherov trip, because I know, and obviously I knew before this, but we have confirmation now that it would get looked at by the league because it was an interference that was head contact. They take care of that. But plays like Kucherov did, he gets away with on a night in and night out basis because of who he is. And that play could have been just as dangerous. But they don't look at trips like that the same way. Like, he knew Michael Rasmussen was cutting inside, was off balance, and had speed, and he took his foot out from under him and sent him barreling into the net. It's just like, it's such a dangerous, unnecessary play, and he's such a sore loser. Anyways, we're going to head to another quick break. When we return, we'll finish up with our last notable performers. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Lockdown Red Wings. Segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. Scotty, who do you got? Anyone else for notable performers?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to your boy, and I think that in the scheme of like most impressed I was watching anybody outside of obviously Cam Talbot, I thought Aljo was phenomenal in this game yet again. He, without scoring a goal, filled the box score, which is always like so fun for a defenseman. Gets an assist, +2. We talk about plus minus all the time, but like +2, 2 shots on net, 3 hits, and I have written down 7 block shots, which is...
That is correct.
Yeah, leads the team. Just absolutely an all-around performance, and was on the ice for almost 21 minutes. He is getting more and more of a leash, more and more responsibility, and I just, it brings a tear to your eye. Like, we used to pray for times like this, man, just getting any help for Edvinsson and Seider on this blue line, and it looks like they found that in Aljo.
Right, and like, I'm walking away from this hockey game thinking to myself, like, we actually have a top 4 now. Like, It's no longer like, oh, Kenny, like, I think we've seen enough of Albert Johansson with Simon Edvinsson to be like, this is our second pair. Of course, that means Ben Sherratt's going to be on the top pair, and that can be hit or miss, but he was good in this game. He was good against Montreal. I actually wrote down, Scotty, top 4 defensemen in general. Like, they did not play, thank God, they did not play Hull and Gustafsson almost at all in this game. Gustafsson had 11 minutes and Hull had 10 minutes of ice time. Yeah. It was over 20 minutes for the other 2 pairs, and they were good in that time. I did think that Edvinsson and Johansson kind of got hemmed in a little bit early on in the game, like they weren't quite prepared for how good Tampa Bay is offensively. And I think that did inflate their minutes a little bit, but they got out of it. They handled it. They were hemmed in, but they escaped without giving up a goal. They handled it the best way they could. I thought Sherratt and Seider were excellent in this hockey game as well. Seider, again, another game where he has over 27 minutes of ice time. I've been very impressed. Still giving up as a whole, a team as a whole, they're giving up too many high danger opportunities still. But as a defensive core, it's looking so much better than it was before McClellan took over, before Jeff Petrie got hurt. Because honestly, and you hate for people to get hurt, right? But if Petrie hadn't gotten hurt, Albert Johansson doesn't get this opportunity, and he doesn't run away with it. And
just
sometimes
making the
in
best
sports,
of a situation that's presented to him. Yeah,
right. That's sometimes how it happens in sports. We saw it with the Lions, right? Montgomery got hurt, and then all of a sudden Gibbs is like, oh wow, he can completely take over.
Well, you saw it
and
in
be the guy.
cornerback probably more than
Yeah.
anywhere else. A lot of guy goes down, and then Amik Robertson, right? So yeah,
Exactly. So I mean, it's just one of the situations with sports where sometimes when a guy goes down, it gives another guy an opportunity, and he doesn't look back. And Johansson's been that way. And honestly, this is a good problem too, because now this gives you the opportunity when Petrie is healthy to then have that competition on the third pair. Because I mean, Justin Hull's getting 10 minutes a night for a reason. He's still not playing a ton, and when he is playing, I haven't been in love with his game. I think Jeff Petrie is going to be a much an improvement, I should say, an improvement on the third pair. So this is a good thing for Red Wings fans.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I also wanted to shout out Dylan Larkin. I was watching. He was excellent defensively in this hockey game. On the power play, he turned the puck over and had to be the guy who busted back, but he came back and made a wonderful play to knock the puck off the stick. Again, it was his turnover that caused it, but he busted butt to get back and make the play. And then as well, in the third period with the empty net, with the goalie pulled, you could tell the game plan was Larkin, you cover Kucherov.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about on the broadcast, like how lethal Kucherov can be in these minutes and how he never comes off the ice. Because he is, my grievances aside, one of the best players in the league, and he plays more minutes. He plays over 20 minutes a night as a forward on a nightly basis, which is incredible. And Kucherov was dangerous, and Larkin's goal was stick to Kucherov, and he did, and he didn't give him any room to breathe. He broke up so many passes and blocked so many shots that Kucherov tried to take in that last couple minutes span. It was an excellent defensive performance from Dylan Larkin, especially just in that last chunk when they're trying to preserve the lead.
Absolutely. I this was one of just the most, and it's fun because the Wings came out on top, but like electric and fun and enjoyable. Like this is a game that the NHL loves, right? Like they can brag about a shutout, but it was still a really close and fun game, and there was a lot of high danger opportunities, and it was a very fast paced, and like you said at the top of the show, a track meet. Excuse me, interdivision. I mean, this is a game that I think was just really, really fun to watch for, third-party fans as well.
Yeah, and so my final question then, Scotty, is do we see Cam Talbot against his old team tonight?
I think if he is rested and ready to go, then you absolutely do. I think that's pretty much just going to come down to Talbot and McClellan's feel of whether he's rested enough, because obviously it's not going to be performance based if he doesn't.
Yeah, and they only have 2 wins in their last 7 games, so they're 2-5 in their last 7. So they're in a little bit of a slump right now on the road at Detroit. So like now would be the time if you're McClellan and Cam Talbot to kind of jump on your former team and make this a 6-for-6 homestand. Because that's the thing, Scotty. We got what we asked for. We wanted minimum 2 wins on this road trip, and our preferred route to that was beating the 2 divisional rivals, and they did that. So, I want them to win every single game because, of course, no other team in this division or this wild card race will lose when we win. So the best we can do is keep pace. It'd be icing on the cake to beat the Kings 2 and finish out the homestand perfect, but it'd be icing on the cake for sure. It just with the standings the way they are, it's kind of needed almost as well, because these teams just will not lose. The Senators beat the Leafs last night. I think the Montreal Canadiens won. The Columbus Blue Jackets won. Like, it just can't. The Red Wings haven't caught a break. And Sunday night, because we're recording this on Sunday before these games, the Rangers are playing Colorado, and Ottawa is playing Utah. So there's a couple more games that matter that we got to keep track of. And it's just, as much as I don't want to get greedy and say sweep the homestand, but with other teams not giving you a break, you kind of just got to in a way.
I'm about it.
I'm about it too. They're good teams. Don't take them lightly, especially because they're going to be getting, I think, Drew Doughty back at some point on this road trip.
Back, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So, take care of business. We ball.
We ball, baby.
New episode tomorrow, same time, same place. Your team, every day.
Every day.